Prince locked the studio door, and Michael Jackson watched the key disappear into that purple jacket. They were trapped together for the next 8 hours. Wait, because what they would create in that locked room would become the greatest recording in music history, and then both men would destroy every trace of it before the sun came up. It was April 17th, 1987. Michael Jackson had arrived at Sound City Studios expecting a simple consultation. Prince had called 2 days earlier, asking for input on a track. What Michael didn't know was that Prince had been planning this night for 3 weeks. The studio had been booked under a fake name. Prince paid triple rate for absolute privacy. No staff after 10 p.m. and disconnected phone lines. Tom Hidley, Sound City's owner, took the money and asked no questions. Michael arrived at 10:47 p.m. in his red leather jacket. His security detail, led by Wayne Nagin, waited outside, told the meeting would be brief. The studio setup should have warned him. Every instrument Prince played was positioned around the room. Guitars, drums, keyboards, bass. The mixing console was running with fresh tape loaded. This wasn't a consultation. This was a full session. They talked for 15 minutes. Prince played a rough funk track. Michael hummed some melody improvements. Prince nodded appreciatively. Then Prince walked to the door and locked it. "What are you doing?" Michael's voice carried an edge that cut through the studio's ambient hum. Prince walked back to center, maintaining eye contact the entire way. His movements were deliberate, calculated. "You're not leaving, not for 8 hours." Michael's jaw tightened. His hands, which had been relaxed at his sides, now curled slightly. "Open the door." "No. We're settling this tonight. You think you're better. I think I'm better. The world keeps comparing us, pitting us against each other, and neither of us has ever really proven who's superior. We're going to create something together, or destroy each other trying." This was planned. The empty studio, the disconnected phones, the elaborate instrument setup. Prince had orchestrated every detail. That's kidnapping. That's a crime. "Go ahead. Break it down. Make noise. Maybe someone will hear. Maybe the police will come, and then what happens?" Prince gestured toward the locked door. "Tomorrow morning, every newspaper in the country runs the story about how Prince and Michael Jackson got into a physical altercation at a recording studio. How we both looked like fools fighting over ego while the whole world watched. Is that what you want?" The door was solid. Professional studio construction, designed to be soundproof. Even if Michael managed to break it down, which would require significant effort and time, Prince was right about the consequences. The media would destroy both of them. "My security is outside. When I don't come out, they'll come looking. They think you're in here for an hour, maybe 2. By the time they get concerned enough to call someone, it'll be past midnight. And who are they going to call? The studio owner who took my money to guarantee privacy. The police who'll need a warrant to enter private property. By the time anyone gets through that door, we'll be done." The logic was infuriating because it was sound. Prince had thought this through from every angle. Michael took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm despite the surge of anger building in his chest. Look at how Michael's mind worked through scenarios, calculating with the tactical awareness of someone who'd navigated impossible situations his entire career. "What do you actually want?" Michael's tone shifted to pragmatic. "We create something. Together. No managers, no producers, no record labels. Just you and me and 8 hours to prove what we're capable of when we stop competing and start collaborating. And if I refuse?" Prince shrugged. "Then we sit in silence for 8 hours. I've got nowhere else to be. How about you?" Michael walked to the far side, thinking part of him wanted out, but another part, driven by artistic curiosity, was intrigued despite the bizarre circumstances. The truth was, Michael had often wondered what working with Prince would be like without public pressure. They represented different philosophies about artistry and fame. Notice how in this moment, Michael was making a choice that would define both their careers in ways neither could predict. What would happen if those approaches collided? "I don't have my songwriting notebook," Michael said after a minute. Not agreement, but not refusal. "There's paper and pens at the console. Everything you need is here." Michael looked around again with different eyes. Every instrument was professional grade. The equipment was state-of-the-art. If he was trapped for 8 hours, he could make them productive or waste them in stubborn resistance. "If we do this," Michael said slowly, "it stays here. Whatever we create doesn't leave this room. No release, no marketing. Between us only." Prince considered, then nodded. "Agreed. This isn't about money or fame. We're already famous. This is about proving something to ourselves. And destroying each other if we can't." Michael asked with dark humor. "Figure of speech," Prince said with a slight smile. "Though part of me wants to see you try to match what I can do." That was the challenge Michael couldn't resist. The competitive fire that had driven him to create Thriller. That same fire responded to Prince's provocation. "Fine. 8 hours. We create something. But one more condition." "What's that?" "After this, you never pull anything like this again. You want to work together in the future. You ask like a normal person." "Deal," Prince agreed. Extending his hand, they shook on it, and something shifted between them. Not transformation from rivals to friends, but movement from pure confrontation towards something more complex, a mixture of rivalry and reluctant respect. The first hour was brutal. Not physically, but emotionally and creatively. They started trying to agree on a basic framework and immediately discovered how different their approaches were. Prince wanted to start with a funk groove, building from rhythm up. Michael wanted to begin with melody, finding the emotional core first. They argued. Intense, focused disagreements about fundamental artistic principles. Prince accused Michael of being too focused on commercial appeal. Michael shot back that Prince's obsession with being perceived as a genius led to overly complex arrangements that sacrificed emotional connection. "You know what your problem is?" Prince said, standing at the keyboard. "You're afraid to take risks. Everything's polished and safe. And your problem," Michael shot back, "is you care more about being seen as an artist than connecting with people. When did one of your songs make someone cry from touching their heart instead of just impressing their mind?" The words hung sharp between them. Then something unexpected happened. Prince sat down and played a simple 4-chord progression, nothing flashy. Michael found himself humming a melody over it. Prince adjusted, Michael modified. They were still angry, but creating. By hour 3, they had Rough Foundation, a haunting minor key song about isolation and fame's price. Prince handled arrangement. Michael focused on vocals and harmonies. Listen to how they challenged each other beyond normal collaborators. Every vocal run had to justify itself. Every guitar flourish had to earn its place. No yes men, pure merit. Hour 4 brought deeper work. It was 2:47 a.m. when they started layering harmonies, refining the bass line, adjusting the drum pattern. They were finding rhythm in their collaboration, learning each other's creative language. Michael would suggest something. Prince would push back. They'd argue for 10 minutes, then find a third option neither had considered. Remember that creative breakthroughs often come from conflict, not agreement. Around 3:30 a.m., exhaustion started setting in. They'd been working for over 4 hours straight. Coffee cups accumulated on the console, the stale smell mixing with the faint electrical burn scent from the equipment that had been running continuously. The studio had grown warm from their body heat and the gear, but neither noticed, but neither suggested stopping. The song was taking shape in ways that surprised both of them. Prince's arrangement was becoming more emotionally direct. Michael's vocal was getting rawer, more vulnerable. At 4:13 a.m., hour 5 nearly broke everything. Working on the bridge, Prince suggested a complex chord change. Michael loved the concept, hated the execution. Too abrupt, Michael argued. You're shocking people out of the emotion. That's the point. Disrupt expectations. You're breaking the connection. 20 minutes of argument. Prince walked toward the door, hand reaching for the lock. Michael thought it was over, but Prince just stood there, back turned, breathing slowly. When he turned around, something had changed. Play it your way. Show me. Michael played the bridge gentler, unexpected but not jarring. That's better. I was wrong. Your version serves the song. Remember, these were two massive egos. Prince admitting Michael was right represented humility the public never saw. Ours, 6 and 7, blurred together. The song came together in surprising ways. Prince's arrangement more emotionally direct than usual. Michael's vocal more raw and vulnerable, pushed by Prince to risk imperfection. Around 6:30 a.m., sunrise outside, they recorded the final vocal take. Michael at the microphone, delivering everything they'd built. Prince at the console, capturing every nuance perfectly. When it ended, neither spoke for a full minute. They knew they'd created something exceptional, something neither could have achieved alone. Prince played it back. Complete silence as two exhausted artists heard their creation for the first time. When it finished, Prince turned. That's the best thing I've ever recorded. Michael nodded. Same. They sat with that realization. Then Prince asked, "Do we release it?" "No," Michael said, without hesitation. "Why? This could be the biggest thing either of us has put out." "Exactly. And if we release it, it becomes a commercial product, a media sensation. Everyone analyzing, dissecting, arguing who contributed more. The song becomes about us instead of the music." Prince considered. "You want it private. I want it to stay pure. Something we created for ourselves, not for labels or critics or fans. This wasn't about making a hit. If we release it, we lose that. People would think we're insane. When have we cared what people think?" Prince smiled, recognizing truth. "What do we do with the master?" Michael picked up the reel carefully. "We destroy it. Right now. Both of us. That way neither can be tempted later." "That's extreme." "We could vault it." "Vaults open. Agreements break. The only guarantee is making sure it physically can't exist." Michael paused. "Unless you can't bring yourself to destroy the best thing you've ever recorded." A challenge. Prince stood. On 3, they removed the tape together, each holding one end. The magnetic tape felt smooth and cool between their fingers, deceptively fragile for something that held such weight. Almost ceremonial, they pulled it tight, then systematically shredded it foot by foot, the tearing sound cutting through the studio's silence, until the entire recording was useless. Fragments scattered across the floor like confetti at a funeral. Look at what they were destroying. Not just a recording, but potentially millions of dollars in revenue, critical acclaim, a place in music history as the greatest collaboration of the decade, and they were choosing to destroy it with their own hands, foot by foot, deliberately and irreversibly. Prince unlocked the door for the first time in 8 hours. Fresh air rushed in. Notice how neither moved to leave immediately, as if crossing the threshold would end something they weren't ready to release. "I learned something tonight," Prince said. "You're not what I thought." "What did you think?" "A performer with incredible talent but no depth." "I was wrong. You're a genuine artist." Michael nodded. "And you actually care about the work more than fame. That's rare." They shook hands, a formal gesture carrying unexpected weight, two competitors acknowledging respect, transforming rivalry into something constructive. "Don't ever lock me in a room again. Wouldn't dream of it. But if you want to create together properly, you know where to find me." Michael left at 7:12 a.m. His security detail, led by Wayne Nagin, had grown increasingly worried over the past 3 hours, but hadn't escalated to calling authorities. Nagin later told friends he'd never seen Michael look so exhausted and so energized at the same time. Michael told them the session ran long, lost track of time. They accepted it without question. Prince stayed another hour alone among instruments and shredded tape, processing what happened. The song existed now only in their memories. No recording, no notation, everything lived only in the minds of two men who created it. But the impact extended beyond the destroyed tape. Both changed subtly after April 17, 1987. Michael became slightly more willing to take risks. Prince more focused on emotional connection. They never worked together officially again, but their competitive edge softened. In later interviews, both spoke about each other with genuine respect. David Martinez, the studio engineer, arrived for his 8 a.m. shift and discovered evidence that stopped him cold. Shredded tape scattered across Studio A. Equipment still running, levels still set, 7 coffee cups on the console. The logbook showed Prince had paid for 8 hours, but there was no session sheet, no track listing. The microphone positioning told Martinez that Michael Jackson's vocal setup had been used. Listen carefully to what Martinez chose to do with this knowledge. Martinez never spoke publicly about what he'd found. His contract with Sound City included strict confidentiality clauses, and he understood some moments were meant to stay private. Years later, in 2003, Martinez was interviewed for a documentary about legendary sessions. The interviewer, Sheila Morrison, asked if he'd ever witnessed something in a studio that he wished had been preserved for history. Martinez paused for nearly 10 seconds before answering, his voice carefully measured. "There are tape fragments from a session in '87 that I sometimes think about. I can't say who was involved, but based on what I saw the next morning, something special happened. The microphone setup, the coffee cups, the way the equipment was configured, the shredded tape, something the artists chose to keep private. And you know what? I respect that. Sometimes the greatest art exists only for the artists who created it." The interview footage shows Martinez looking directly at the camera when he said this, as if he wanted future viewers to understand the weight of what he wasn't saying. When Prince died in 2016, Michael had been gone 7 years. Among Prince's effects, investigators found a notebook with cryptic notation for a song titled Locked Hours. Incomplete fragments, as if someone was trying to reconstruct a piece they could no longer recall. Remember this detail, because it proves the song haunted Prince for nearly 30 years. The notebook was cataloged with Prince's materials. No one connected it to April 1987, but people knew parts of the story. Wayne Nagin, the security chief who'd waited through the night. Tom Hidley, the studio owner who'd accepted unusual payment for absolute privacy, and later told his wife he'd never seen Prince look so serious about studio time. David Martinez, the engineer who found shredded tape and never spoke of it. Each held a puzzle piece that would never be assembled. In music circles, legends exist about lost recordings. Beatles' Carnival of Light, Marvin Gaye sessions. Prince and Michael's 8-hour collaboration joined that mythology. The truth was more mundane and more profound. Two competitive artists forced into proximity for 8 hours. They fought, created, challenged each other, produced something exceptional, then chose to destroy it, valuing creative purity over commercial success. That choice said something important. In an industry defined by ego and profit, they prioritized artistic integrity. The song No One Will Hear became more legendary than anything either released publicly. It existed beyond criticism, beyond measurement, perfect because it remained untested, preserved in memory rather than tape. Think about what that means. In an age where everything is recorded and archived, two artists deliberately chose to create something beautiful and then ensure it could never be commodified or criticized. That choice was as radical as the art itself. If you enjoyed spending this time here, I'd be grateful if you'd consider subscribing. A simple like also helps more than you'd think. The legacy is complex. Two geniuses creating purely for creation's sake, then destroying it to preserve purity. Deliberate destruction stands as radical artistic principle. Sometimes the greatest performances aren't the ones millions hear. Sometimes the most important creative moments exist only for those who experience them. That's what occurred April 17th, 1987, in a locked Van Nuys studio. Prince and Michael Jackson proved something to themselves. They created beauty and chose to preserve it by not subjecting it to commercial machinery. The song is gone. The courage to destroy it remains.